through. So we're going to talk about forgiveness, but we have to build up a little bit to it. Hopefully you saw my reel that I did earlier about the how to get your money right via forgiveness part 3. And I explained a little bit in there that your judgments that you have about yourself, others, or the world around you really keep your belief systems in place. It's a bi-directional process, meaning that this goes back and forth. So you make a judgment. That judgment is based on projections, which we'll talk about that. But that judgment may lead to establishing or maintaining limiting beliefs that do not serve you. And if you've been with me long enough, then you know your thoughts become your beliefs become your habits make up your lifestyle. So when we're talking about shifting your finances and shifting your money from a top-down approach, we're talking about your money habits, how you deal with money. But from a bottom-up approach, we really have to get to the heart of it, or get to the root of it, which is what I say. And that's when we're going to talk about judgments, perceptions, and projection. So the ego is, so if we think about the self as a circle, we can divide that circle in, well, we don't even want to divide it in half. We want to divide it kind of like 75% at the bottom and 25% at the top. And the ego is going to be that 25% at the top. So from the ego's perspective, and that's the place that we operate from on a conscious level, it seems like we are in control of everything. But really, it's the unconscious mind that is really in control. The unconscious mind is this repository, is this space for our unconscious beliefs, and that's where we operate from. So if you are, a lot of us know about shadow work. The shadow is a part of the unconscious mind. And if something is in the shadow, it has been relegated to the shadow. That means the ego kind of shifts it away or suppresses it because it wants to ignore it. It doesn't feel like that part of the self is worthy of being in the light of conscious awareness. And so it will push that down, hoping that it goes away, but it doesn't really go away. It just controls us from the background. So say if you are pushing away a fear, you have a certain fear, but you don't want to acknowledge that fear, so you push it down. But still on the surface level, you are either always moving towards that fear or away from it. Even you're just not aware of it. So it's just running your life from the background. So the ego is the part of the self that we think of as us. I'm reading my notes down here. One of the ego's jobs is to keep us safe in the world and to help us function in this world. It does this by taking our past experiences and using them to determine if future experiences will be safe. This is what we can refer to as projection. We can think of projection as the way that a human, but not just a human, all sentient beings, animals, bugs, you name it, we all project. We do this as a way to encode information or meaning onto external reality, which actually lacks inherent intellectual meaning. So that's really a more esoteric topic, but I always think about it. I have flowers right here. And if you've been here before, then you've heard me speak about this. So if we think about, my flowers, they're kind of dying, but it'll work. If we think about the sunflowers, we see a sunflower as yellow. We see a sunflower as yellow, okay? And so this is actually a projection because we think that the yellow is out there, that the yellow is external to us, that it is a part, that is inherently a part of that flower. But if we ask a bumblebee, or if we ask a butterfly, if we were able to ask it, what does it see? We know that those insects have different eyes. Their hardware is different. They have different types of brains. They're able to see colors outside of the spectrum of light that we can see. So perhaps for them, they're not seeing yellow at all. So there is no inherent yellow out there. the reality in itself does not have that intellectual meaning. We project that onto the flower, and that's what we see back. And if we think about how this works with our money and our view of the world and our view of money, what we project out there is what we get back. And once again, we do this through judgments, through our beliefs, which manifest as our perceptions. Does all of this make sense so far? Drop me a number 8 if this makes sense so far. I just want to make sure I haven't lost anyone before we move forward. Drop me a number 8 if this makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, drop me your question in the comment section so I can clarify. Okay, I'm seeing some 8s now. I'm seeing some 8s. Perfect. Okay, so the mind projects its beliefs from past experiences and creates judgments to validate those beliefs, which creates a perception of how the external world, others, or even the self is. Projection is the reflection. Exactly. Projection is the reflection. So the ego will try its best to maintain a sense of solidity and control. If it feels out of control, inadequate, or vulnerable, it will seek to correct this in order to maintain a sense of control or balance. This is what we call ego preservation. So we all have heard that the ego always fears its death. And in a way, that's very, very true. It fears its annihilation. So think about when you have a thought or a belief, or think about when you are, I don't want to say in an argument. We'll call it a discussion because it doesn't have to be an argument. But think about when you are in a discussion with someone else and they have an opposing viewpoint to you. And deep inside, when they're expressing their viewpoint, perhaps you feel some sort of somatic sensation. Perhaps you feel some vulnerability. Perhaps you feel some fear. You feel some anger. You feel some frustration because they're saying something that you really, really don't agree with. This is that ego preservation. So the ego wants to reach out and say, oh no, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm right. Why does the ego do that? Because the ego deep down feels like, okay, well, if I'm wrong about that, I could have been wrong about anything. I could have been wrong about this, or I could have been wrong about that. And on a deeper unconscious level, that makes it feel very insecure. That makes us feel very unsafe. And the ego's job is to keep us safe. Tips on expanding the third eye. Hey, is it Bernard? Tonight's workshop is on increasing money through forgiveness. So that's what we're going to focus on for right now. But if you have questions outside of this workshop or outside of the material that we're going through, you can definitely DM me. But you should know that I work via personal development. So I do talk about metaphysics, but I don't work, outside of that area, but you can still feel free to send me a DM and I will be able to assist you the best way that I can. So the ego has this ego preservation. You know, it wants to be right. It wants to feel like it's right. Okay. So it's important also, my last little note here, because I know that this can be something that comes up as well. Projection is completely normal. Okay, it's completely normal. A lot of people, when they hear about projection, they feel like this is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. It just is what it is. Shakespeare said I think he said there is no such thing as good or bad. Only thinking makes it so. Let me type that in. I want to give it to you right. No thing as good or bad. Only thinking makes it so. Let's see what he said. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So we can think of this, works well with what we're talking about, because this also relates back to projection. Some people, when we're projecting on the meaning of projection, people will say, oh, it's bad to project, or it's evil to project, or, It's not. It's not. We would not be able to function within this world, within this reality, without projecting. Because say that you go outside, say you live in a jungle, or maybe you live somewhere where there's a lot of wilderness and there are poisonous snakes around. But because you're not projecting, because say you didn't have the ability to project, you wouldn't know what that snake was, and that could potentially be dangerous for you. So you have to take your past experiences in order to project them out to see, is it safe for me to move forward? Is this a safe situation? How should I move? How should I groove? What should I do? Okay, so it's important to know that projection is completely normal and it is necessary for us to survive. The issue comes in when we are unaware of our projections. When we're unaware, we're unable to check ourselves and make the proper decisions to know if we're going in the right direction towards harmony or if we're going away from it. And that's essentially what we're going to be talking about. Many of us, especially if you're here, perhaps you have this desire to be financially secure, to have financial stability, to have financial well-being. But because you're unaware of how you project, you're unaware of your limiting beliefs, then you're unaware of your limiting behaviors, you're unaware of how those things are manifesting in reality for you. So your money just seems all out of control. Everything just seems out of control, but it's because you're unaware of what it is that you're projecting, how the judgments that you are making either are working for you or are not working for you. And forgiveness comes in. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, y'all. If you've been here, then you can see there are a lot of people coming in and out, but I don't know what's going on with my account. It's like, I'm pretty sure y'all see those spam comments that come up underneath posts and things. Now I'm starting to get them inside of the workshop. So, we're going to keep on moving and grooving anyway, but I had to bless them with a block. That was unnecessary. So you may have this desire on the surface level, for financial well-being, but because you're unaware of the judgments that you're making against yourself, others in the world around you, that keep those limiting beliefs intact and keep you operating from those limiting beliefs, you're not really understanding or realizing how you're making decisions that are either working for you or are not working for you. And forgiveness on a metaphysical level is going to allow you to release those judgments, release the judgments in the moment and release the judgments from the past, so you can dig that up by the root. Okay, so that you can dig that up by the root. Hold on, I gotta do it again, y'all. Oh my goodness. Maybe I'm not. It's not gonna let me. We're gonna keep on moving. So if all of that makes sense, go ahead once again and drop me a number 8. Let me see some 8s. If not, if I lost somebody along the way, drop me your question. Let me see. Just want to make sure. So that was our section on the ego and projection. That was our section on ego and projection. So hopefully you took your notes there. If you need me to repeat anything, just let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, drop me an 8 so I know that you are picking up what I'm putting down, you are smelling what I'm stepping in, and you are ready to roll. Okay, I'm seeing some 8s. I'm seeing some 8s. So the next section is going to be called Judgments, Limiting Beliefs, and Manifestations. Judgments, limiting beliefs, and manifestations. Okay. So judgments about the self, others, and the world are used to validate and maintain those limiting beliefs. So I think about this when we have this, like, say, once again, you're back in that discussion or example discussion, and someone is saying something to you that you don't agree with, and you're waiting for that point where you can say, see, I'm right. See, I told you so. Or, you're in a situation where you want to use your beliefs to validate your experience. That's where the judgments come in. So judgments work by ego preservation, because remember, the ego, it seems like it's solid, but it's not actually solid. The ego is actually a collection of thoughts and beliefs and behaviors, and it's actually very fluid. But the way that it works in order to solidify itself, if we think about a circle, the circle has this outline. So that which is within the circle is the circle, and that which is outside of the circle is not the circle. And that's how the ego works. It makes this judgment to keep a separation. It makes a judgment to keep a separation. So it will say, you are that, or he is that, or she is that, or it is that, and I am this, and I am not that. I am this, I am not that. So say, I'm going to give you an example. So say you have this belief, all good people should be selfless and giving. You know, we think about this too as it relates to money. All good people should be selfless and giving. You have this belief. The way that you use a judgment to maintain that belief is, say you see a friend or you see a person, there's someone around you, and they don't, you find that they're not very giving. They never give any money. They never give any gifts. You don't see them as very selfless. You see them as selfish. And so because of that, you as the ego feel like, okay, well, I'm good. I'm the good one. And in order for me to maintain my goodness, in order for me to maintain that belief and operate within that belief, then I am the good one and they're not good because they're selfish and I'm selfless. And I am this and they are that. And I'm not like them. I'm good and they're not good because they're selfish. So now we've made this judgment. We've made this judgment that separates the ego from the other person or from the other circumstance. And we make this judgment which maintains this difference and supports this ego preservation. So you have this belief, all good people should be selfless and giving. You have this judgment, I am giving, this person is not giving. This person is not a good person because they're not selfless. They're selfish. I'm a good person because I'm selfless. That's the judgment. So perhaps this leads to a habit. This leads to a habit because our thoughts and our beliefs become our habits. We use those judgments to keep those belief systems in place. So perhaps this habit that comes from that judgment and that belief system is, I give away all my money all the time because I'm a good person, and that's what makes people good, right? I'm a good person and good people are selfless and they are giving. So in my goodness, in order for me to maintain my sense of ego, in order for my ego to preserve itself and to also operate within this belief system, I give all my money away all the time. And when people know that I have money and my friends know that I have money and my family knows that I have money and they come to me and ask me for money, I give it away always because that's what a good person does. So the manifestation is you may be broke because you're always giving away your money. You don't have any boundaries. And all of this comes deep down from that belief system, from those judgments that manifest into that habit, that turn into that brokenness that you're always seeing. But all of this directly contradicts that deeper desire that you have of financial well-being. Does it make sense? Are you smelling what I'm stepping in? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So when we are unaware of our projections and unaware of our limiting beliefs and unaware of our judgments of ourself, I'm a good person and this is what good people do, and they're a bad person because they're not like me and I'm not like them, and all of these things, judgments about the world. Money is the root of all evil, but at the same time you want financial well-being, but you don't consider yourself as an evil person. So you're in a way unconsciously blocking your money because you hold beliefs and you engage in judgments that directly contradict that which you want, and your habits come from those belief systems and those judgments. This is why I call this metaphysics. This is a metaphysical approach below the physical level, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, judgments. This energy, this metaphysical energy, is underlying your money or your lack thereof. So even we go back to what I was talking about last week. If you have those beliefs, you even the money that flows in, it may leave fast. Even in this example that I gave you, it may leave fast. The money may flow in, but it also may flow out. It may not stay, and we want that money to stay. Okay? Perfect. Okay, so I see it makes a lot of sense. So I have 3 unconscious reasons for judgment, and they're very similar. There's some crossover, but this is specifically where you want to take notes as well. You want to write these down because I think it's important for you to know, and it's also very interesting for you to know. But the work that we're going to be doing on Wednesday and Friday does not necessarily require that you bring this back in, but it will be more beneficial for you because you'll be able to directly see what's going on. So I have 3 reasons for I have 3 unconscious reasons for judgment. Write that on your paper in this section, 3 unconscious reasons for judgment. And once you have that written down, go ahead and drop me a number 1 and let me know that you're ready for the first reason. Write that down. You're going to head this section, 3 unconscious reasons for judgment. And then once you have done that, go ahead and drop me that number 1 in the comment section and let me know that you're ready for our first reason. Because when we do the work on Wednesday and Friday, you may want to refer back to this list as well as the other items that I'm going to give you. That way, the things that are unconscious become conscious and you're able to free yourself from that. Okay, I'm seeing those ones. Our first reason is going to be avoiding feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy. Avoiding feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy. Write that down. Avoiding feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy. So seeing something in someone else that we cannot or will not allow in ourselves. So this goes back to repression, and this also comes into play when people are talking about shadow work. And that's essentially kind of what we're doing here. This is a very much an aspect of shadow work. So let me give you a good example. One that we already did. That one we already did one, but another example could be, say you grew up in a household that values logic. Your mother and your father always told you you have to grow up to go to college. You have to work hard. And anything that was creative or playful was really shunned and put down. Anytime you were creative or you were playful or you wanted to, explore aspects of creativity, they always shamed you in a negative way, because there's toxic shame and then there's healthy shame. So they shamed you in a toxic way for this. So as you grew up, you learned, okay, it is not safe for me to express my creativity. In any aspect of me that is creative or playful, I have to hide in order to maintain my integrity, in order for me to be safe, in order for me to receive love from my caregivers. So inside of you, there is an aspect that is creative and playful. But what you have done is you suppressed it and you pushed that away. So now on the outside, you're very logical, you're very pragmatic, but anytime that there's anything that shows up in your life, in your experience that relates to creativity or playfulness, you make a judgment about that. So say you meet your friend Jessica. Jessica's either your friend or maybe she's not even your friend. Maybe you know a Jessica. And Jessica is very creative. She is very playful. And you judge her as being, she's just not in touch with reality. I mean, she doesn't have her priorities in order. She's never going to make it in the world. I mean, it's just crazy to me how she lives her life like that. I mean, she's just so irresponsible. She doesn't care about herself. She doesn't care about anything. She's just always so playful, and she doesn't take anything serious. This is a judgment avoiding feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy, because really there's an aspect of the self that has been relegated to the shadow, relegated to the unconscious, that is creative and is playful, but we don't allow ourselves to express that. So what we're doing is, when we see that in someone else, it makes us feel some kind of way. But instead of being able to acknowledge it in us, we have to judge the other person in order to maintain our integrity and to maintain, once again, that ego preservation. So really, that creative aspect, or that playful aspect, what that is showing us is it is seeking reintegration back into the conscious awareness, the light of conscious awareness. But because we are afraid of that, and we've been afraid of it for so long, then we use that judgment to create that distance. That judgment maintains those limiting beliefs. And then, say perhaps on a deeper level, since we're talking about money, maybe there are things that you know how to do that are creative and playful, that would actually lead to you making more money. But because you won't allow those things to come up, and because you won't explore them, now you've blocked your money. Okay? So the first unconscious reason for judgment is going to be avoiding feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy. If that makes sense, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in, if you got number 1 written down, go ahead and drop a number 2. Go ahead and drop a number 2 in the comment section when you are ready to roll and ready to move forward. Just want to make sure you've got your notes down. Everything I've said makes sense. Once you are ready to roll, go ahead and drop me that 2. Okay, I see the 2s. Number 2 is going to be disowning. Go ahead and write that down. Disowning. So not being able to acknowledge a behavior that we do have. Instead, we disown it. We only see it in others, and we criticize others for it. So, I mean, you see this a lot. Really, you see it. You see it in other people, and that's the name of the game for this one, because it's very difficult for you to see it in yourself. It's like when you have a friend and you perceive that your friend has a problem, or they always come to vent to you about something, and you're like, ooh girl, or ooh boy, or ooh friend, you know, my friend is always doing this, and they just are always doing X, Y, or Z, but really you do it too. But you're not able to acknowledge and be aware. Hey, AJ, you're not able to acknowledge that you do that same thing. So let's say it's this just popped into my mind. So let's say it's gossiping. Let's say it's gossiping. You gossip a lot, but you don't feel like you gossip because, you know, you're such a good person. You're such a good person, and good people don't gossip. Only bad people gossip, or only shady people gossip, or only, you know, irresponsible people gossip. So you're making, once again, this judgment, which maintains that belief system that you're operating from. And since you're disowning that behavior, you're not able to acknowledge it in yourself. But whenever you see your friend gossiping, or you see someone else gossiping, you criticize them for doing it, but you do it too. So it's a behavior that is unconscious, and because you want to maintain that integrity, and because the ego was trying to preserve itself, once again, by making this judgment, they are them, that is that, I am me, I am not that, I am this, I am not that, it has to disown in order to preserve itself. Okay, so the second unconscious reason for judgment is disowning. The first one is avoiding feelings of vulnerability or inadequacy, and the second one is disowning. And you can see how these are very similar. You know, they kind of overlap, and I mentioned that all 3 of these are going to overlap, but I want to break them down to kind of give you a little bit of clarity regarding it. So by the time we're done with this, hopefully you'll be able to take a good look at yourself and the things that you do unconsciously and the judgments that you make about other people. I am who I am because I am who I am. Exactly. But that's not necessarily true. That is not necessary. That's the way we want to believe that we are, but that can get us into sticky situations. I'm going to talk about that after this one. So go ahead and drop me a number 3 in the comment section if you're ready for the third unconscious reason for judgment. If you're ready for the third unconscious reason for judgment, go ahead and drop that number 3 in the comment section. If you have number 1 and number 2 written down, you have taken your notes. You are picking up what I'm putting down. You are smelling what I'm stepping in. Everything makes sense so far. You don't have any questions. Go ahead and drop me that number 3. Let me see those 3s. Let me see those 3s. Let me see those 3s. Okay. Number 3 is going to be resentment. So resentment is number 3. And so this is where we build ourselves up by tearing someone else down. We build ourselves up by tearing someone else down. So this is what we can also refer to as the crabs in a barrel mentality. We want to keep everyone else down because whatever is going on, whatever we're perceiving, whatever we're judging, we want to once again kind of going back to numbers 1 and 2, we're trying to avoid those feelings of vulnerability. We're trying to avoid that feeling of inadequacy. We want to disown it. So we have a certain resentment that builds up. And instead of being able to say, you know, what is that about? We say, oh no, they're them. I'm me. I'm nothing like that. I am me. And, I'm the better one. So we tear them down to make ourselves feel better. So hopefully you got all of those down, and let's move on to the sticky situations. This is the section I call, and we have this one, sticky situations, and then we have points for growth and self-reflection that are left. Okay. So sticky situations, and I wanted to bring this up because as we move forward, I think it's important to realize what happens when you are unconscious of your projections, since we're going to be talking about how forgiveness for our judgments can remove all of this, can pull that up from the root. So I have 4 of them. So go ahead and head this section of your notes, sticky situations. That's what you can call this, sticky situations. And once you have written that heading, go ahead and drop me a number 1. Once you've written that heading down, go ahead and drop me a number 1. Hey, Sacred Light, welcome, welcome, welcome. Sticky situations, write sticky situations on there on your paper, and then drop me that number 1 when you are ready. Okay, I'm seeing those 1s. So the first sticky situation that you can get yourself into from not being conscious of your projections is you miss your opportunities for growth. You miss your opportunities for growth because you cannot release your limiting beliefs, behaviors, and blockages. So let's go back to the example that I gave earlier. The belief that all good people should be selfless and giving. You have the judgment, I am giving, this person is not giving. So this person is not a good person because they're not selfless, and I'm a good person because I am selfless. That judgment holds that belief in place. The habit that develops from that is perhaps this manifests as I give away all of my money all the time, and this comes into play. I don't have any boundaries because I am so selfless and I am so giving, and good people are giving, and that's what good people do. But we miss our opportunity for growth here because perhaps you need to establish some boundaries, some healthy boundaries, in order to get where you're going. Clearly, if you give away all of your money or if you allow people to treat you some kind of way, then that is not going to be healthy for you. So if you are constantly judging this other person for their selfishness and you're denying your own selfishness, then this creates an imbalance. So the opportunity for growth comes into play when you can say, okay, well, even though I'm judging them for that, even though I feel like I don't like them for X, Y, Z. I don't like them because I feel like they're so selfish. It's not really about them. It's about me. So perhaps there's a part of me that needs to be or wants to be selfish, but I'm not able to acknowledge that, and I'm not able to integrate that in a healthy way. Now, I'm not saying you should just go around and be selfish and take from people, because that would be an unhealthy integration. But a healthy integration would be able to say, okay, well, how can I take what I need from that, realize it, settle into that, and allow that to help me achieve this balance. Hopefully that makes sense. If that makes sense, the first sticky situation that you can get yourself in from unconsciously projecting is going to be you miss your opportunities for growth. If that makes sense, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in, drop me a number 2. Drop me a number 2 if you are ready to move forward. If something does not make sense, if you have a question, if you're confused, drop me your question so that I may gift you some clarity. So let me see some 2s, or let me see some questions. Let me see some 2s, or let me see some questions. Okay, I'm seeing some 2s. I'm seeing those 2s coming through. Thank you, Shay. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it moving to stay on time. But if you do have a question, you can go ahead and drop that. It's no problem. So the second the second sticky situation is going to be you repress helpful aspects of yourself. And I kind of hinted on this earlier in the example that I gave about being in a pragmatic family or growing up in a pragmatic family that values logic and structure. And this perhaps may cause the person to suppress or repress parts of themselves that are creative or playful, but you repress aspects of yourself that may be helpful. So you may not be in contact with your inner creativity, your talent, your skills, or your abilities that could open you up for more money. Remember, in one of last week's workshops, I gave you the breakdown of that word talent and how it really comes from the Latin word talentum, which means both talent and skills that come to you naturally like we mean it. But talentum is also a bag of money. So your talent, your talentum, is money that you earn from skills and abilities that you have naturally, perhaps something that's creative. So if you're constantly judging someone else for their creativity because you're trying to uphold your own integrity and you're trying to make sure that you have this sense of control, then you're not really able to acknowledge your deficits and where you are cutting yourself off. And so that is going to, you're going to continue to repress helpful aspects of yourself. If that makes sense, go ahead and drop me a number 3. If that makes sense, go ahead and drop me a number 3 in the comment section. Hello, Radicus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Jen. Drop me a number 3. So number 1 is you miss your opportunities for growth. Number 2 is you repress helpful aspects of yourself. And I have 2 more. So drop me a number 3 if you're ready to roll, if you're ready to move forward. Okay, I'm seeing the 3s. Number 3 is you believe that you're thinking correctly, but you're actually delusional. Delusion is number 3. I think this is kind of self-explanatory from everything that we've gone through thus far in examples. I should have thought of an example for this. Okay, so this one once again goes back to our judgments of other people. So perhaps you don't like someone and you feel like this person is really mean or they are really negative, but it's really something that's in you deep down inside that you aren't able to acknowledge, because your judgments really are about you. They're not about the other person. They're about you. So you think that you're thinking correctly, but because of these heavy judgments that you have and these heavy perceptions that you have, it's like you put on these glasses. you put on your rose tinted glasses, or, horses have blinders so that they can't see on this side of them or that side of them. So now you put on your blinders and you think that you're thinking rationally. You think that you can see everything and that you can see openly, but there's so much that you can't see, and there's so much information that you are disregarding, and you're definitely being delusional, so you're not thinking clearly. You're not thinking clearly. And when you're not able to think clearly and openly, then there's a lot of opportunities for growth, a lot of moves. We'll call them money moves since we're talking about money. There may be a lot of moves and a lot of decisions that you could be making in order to remove your money blockages, or to open up opportunities for you to make more money, or for you to shut down places where you're leaking money. But because you have certain judgments that you're making about yourself, others, or the world around you, you're not able to actually do that. Okay? If that makes sense, go ahead and drop me that number 4 in the comment section. Go ahead and drop me that number 4 in the comment section if that makes sense. So number 1 is you miss your opportunities for growth. Number 2 is you repress helpful aspects of yourself. Number 3 is delusion. You believe that you're thinking correctly, but you're delusional. And then number 4. Number 4 is your judgments and perceptions and your limiting beliefs can definitely open you up to manipulation, because you may think that you're thinking correctly. You may think that you know it all, but someone who does not have those judgments and perceptions that you have may be able to see something that you are not allowing yourself to see. And none of us are perfect, but perhaps they just have different judgments and different perceptions than you have. And they're seeing a way to manipulate you. But because you think that you know it all, and because you think that you are big and you are bad and that you're just everything, you don't even see how you've made yourself vulnerable. Okay, you don't even see how you've made yourself vulnerable. And one of the things that comes into my mind right now, and I know this is a sensitive topic, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway. I'm gonna stand in my truth and my authenticity. But a lot of people in spiritual communities, I feel, open themselves up to negativity and attacks from other people and other entities simply by the belief systems that they have. Now, I try not to say that someone's beliefs are wrong. I think that there are beliefs that serve you and there are beliefs that do not serve you. And a lot of people inherently, they'll say, okay, in my spiritual system or in my religious system, all of these beliefs are structured into that. So they just, they're drinking the Kool-Aid because it is served to them, but they're not actually considering whether these beliefs are actually helping them or not. Are these beliefs serving me or are they not serving me? So sometimes you may open yourself up to situations and circumstances and energies that you're actually trying to protect yourself from. But the best protection is to stop it before it even gets started. So I think about things like when people do lots of protection spells, and when people even think about crystals. I'll use crystals because I want to use something that's dear to me, so that I don't want anybody who hears this or sees this to think that I'm picking on someone. So I'll use crystals. I'm wearing a crystal right now, so I'll pick on myself. So even this is an obsidian. People say that black crystals, this is heat bonded in titanium, so it has a little sheen to it, but up underneath that, it's black. People say, okay, black crystals keep you safe from negative psychic energies. Black crystals keep you safe from negative psychic energies. So you say, oh, the reason why I'm wearing my black crystal is to keep me safe from negative psychic energies. Well, inherently in that belief is that if I don't wear my black crystal, I'm going to open myself up to negative psychic attacks and negative psychic energies. So that can once again get you into a sticky situation, because now you're dependent on this. And if you don't have that, it's now you've opened yourself up to it, rather than if you selected a completely different belief altogether and moved from that belief and operated from that belief. You could have cut that off from the beginning, and it could have not been neither here nor there for you. But a lot of times we are unaware of the consequences and the repercussions, pros, cons, good, bad, this way, that way, left, right, of our beliefs and our judgments. So when we have certain judgments and we're doing that unconsciously and we haven't evaluated everything, we can open ourselves up to the thing that we're actually trying to protect ourselves against, and we can open ourselves up to being manipulated. Okay? And then I have 3 points for growth and self-reflection. So how can you take all of this and turn it around? You know, I don't want to just give you all of this information and just leave you there. There are certain things that aren't connecting. So let's go ahead and connect that. Make the next heading of your paper say points for growth and self-reflection. So what do you do with this information? Once you have done that, go ahead and drop me a number 1 in the comment section. Once you have done that, the next section, the last section, is points for growth and self-reflection. Go ahead and drop me a number 1 in the comment section. Okay, I'm seeing those ones. The first one is what you want to ask yourself, and all of these are questions. All of these are questions. What is this showing me about me? So when you judge someone else, or when you judge the world, instead of making it about the other person, which is going to get you in deeper into that sticky situation, you want to ask yourself, what is this showing me about me? What is this showing me about me? My beliefs about myself. What do I feel like is good for me? Yes, it's what is this showing me about me? What is this showing me about myself, basically? So say you're judging that person for their creativity. And in one way, we get that self-satisfaction by saying, oh, this person is they're so oblivious, and they're just, irresponsible, and they just, they have their head in the clouds all day. We're making it about them at that point. We're making it about them. Meanwhile, that person is living their life and doing what they do. And so this judgment, maintaining that distance, we want to actually collapse that. We want to collapse that. That's going to allow us to open ourselves up for that growth. So when we say, what is this showing me about me? Then perhaps you get to that, well, maybe it's showing me that I don't like creativity. Maybe it's showing me I don't like my creativity, or I don't believe that I'm creative. Maybe it's showing me that I've cut myself off from my creativity. Like I'm hating on them for their creativity, but what is it about me and my creativity? I'm not connected to my creativity at all. Perhaps I could reconnect to my creativity and I would feel better. I would feel more whole. I would feel more authentic. So that's the first one. What is this showing me about me? If that makes sense, go ahead and drop me a number 2. Go ahead and drop me a number 2 in the comment section if that makes sense, and I'll give you the second point or question for growth and self-reflection. Okay, I'm seeing those 2s. I'm seeing those 2s. Number 2 is, how is this present in myself? How is this present in myself? How is this present in myself? So let's go back to our example of selfishness. You see another person, they're selfish, and you're judging them for being selfish. You say, well, okay, I really want to grow from this. I see that there's some resistance there. I see that there's some tension there. I see that there's something going on there. And I don't want to dive deeper and make it about them, because if I make it about them, then I'm not going to be able to grow. So I can ask, how is this selfishness present in me? If I'm being truthful with myself, I want to be selfish. And maybe you might like, oh, I don't even want to say that. But you say, I want to be selfish. I'm so tired of giving everyone everything and not getting anything in return. I'm so tired of working so hard and not being able to enjoy the fruits of my labor because I give everything to everyone else because I make it seem like I have to be so selfless. I have to be so selfish and everyone else gets to be selfish and I just want to be selfish too. I want to be able to keep a part of me for me. So from that, you can say, you know what? I need to learn how to keep parts of me for myself. I need to learn how to establish proper boundaries. My money is my money. And just because someone asks me for money, just because someone asks me for a favor does not mean that I'm obligated to do it. And if I say no, it's okay for me to say no. It's okay for me to say no. But how you see, you would never get there. You would never get to those points of growth and self-reflection if you were constantly making about the other person. So that's that. So number 3, if you are ready for our last point, go ahead and drop me a number 3 in the comments section. Okay, artist said you like these questions. I'm glad, because when we go through days 2 and days 3, Wednesday and Friday, you definitely want to ask yourself these questions when you get to those activities so that you can open yourself up to release your negative money energy, release your blockages, release those judgments, release those negative money habits, which is going to allow the increase in money to flow into you. I see those 3s. Number 3 is, how is this judgment, you fill in the blank, how is this judgment contradicting my worldview? How is this judgment, how is this habit, how is what I'm seeing in the other person, if I acknowledge that, how does that contradict my worldview? And what do I see when I look through their view? So if I say, okay, I'm judging this person, I see that I'm judging them, I feel a little deep inside, I feel it, but I know I don't want to head into that. I don't want to do that. I really want to grow. I don't want to do that. So let me just take a moment and pause. How does their view contradict my view? They're saying no. I'm not going to give my money to you. I don't have to give my money to you. It's my money. And I feel like you should be kind to other people, and you should give to other people. But if I see it through their view, I'll get to keep something for me. Not saying that I have to give it all up or not give it all up, but if I see it from their point of view, I get to keep some of me for me. If I see it through their worldview, I get to keep my money in my bank account. I get to spend my money on what I want to spend my money on. Hey, Marsha, welcome. I think I saw Marcus and AJ pop in here earlier, but I think they left. So you can ask, how is their view contradicting my worldview? And what do I see when I look through their view? What new perspectives does this give to me? What new energy does this give to me? What does this show me that I can introduce into my world, introduce into myself in order to balance things out? That's another point for growth and self-reflection. Does everything that we've gone through today make sense? I know we've gone through a lot of information, and hopefully you can see how I've laid the groundwork for the work how I've laid the foundation for the work that we're going to do on Wednesday. We're going to dive into forgiving yourself, forgiving the judgments that you've held against yourself, forgiving yourself for the things that you feel like you have done wrong or the mistakes that you have made, and just releasing that energy from the ground up. And then on Friday, we're going to go into extending that forgiveness, because sometimes it's easier to forgive yourself than to forgive someone else, especially if you feel like that person has wronged you, or to forgive the world if you feel like the world has wronged you. So we're going to start with the self. And then that forgiveness that you're able to provide to yourself, you will then be able to extend to others in the world around you. Makes a lot of sense. Thankful I'm getting this knowledge so I can manage my money to come. Exactly. This is going to help you manage your money, maintain it, and it's going to open you up. Think about the example I gave about